I think it's snake oil, personally. We all love to modify our Subarus, but what are the 10 worst modifications you can do? We all love to modify, personalise and improve our Subarus. After all, they're a perfect car to do that with, but we all want to do it for as little money as possible. And this is where some of the problems arise. So I'm going to take you through the 10 worst modifications that you could possibly do to your Subaru. Hopefully so that you can avoid them and save yourself a lot of aggro, a lot of money and a lot of wasted time. Obviously this is my opinion. I have nothing against most of the manufacturers of these parts, most. Some of my regular customers will be aware of one of the items on this list that probably won't be a surprise to them. But these 10 complete and utter waste of money modifications should be avoided, in my opinion. Feel free to disagree. One of them in particular might get you going a bit, so stick around and see if you can spot that one. I've kept this down to 10. There may be a part 2 or even a part 3 at some point. So where do I start? Dump valves. Aftermarket dump valves. These are the cause of most running issues that I've found over the years with Subarus. Most of the times where it's stalling coming up to a junction is because the dump valve is stuck shut. Most of the time where the boost is low it's because the dump valve's leaking. I don't personally like the that some of the cheap aftermarket dump valves produce. I think they sound much nicer when you blank the dump valve off completely, but people like them. If you're going to fit one, fit a good quality one, but they will never improve the performance of your car. They only ever have the potential to ruin it. So this is what I like to do with cheap dump valves. Number 2. Colt are a great company. They've got a long history with Subaru. They produce some fabulous parts, but these little beauties of billet goodness, in my opinion, are often associated or often on a car that has also got problems with synchros and broken gearboxes. I just don't see the point of them. The Subaru gearbox isn't designed to be rushed. If you want to do that, put a sequential, put dog box in there, but these short shifters, I believe, ruin an awful lot of gearboxes. Number 3, uprated coil packs. On the 2001 onwards Subaru Impreza and Forester, they have coil unplug coil packs, and they're absolutely awesome. Never had any problems with those, running those on my race car up to 850 horsepower. The standard Subaru STI coil pack is awesome. It fits onto the plug positively, you get a nice reassuring clunk as it goes on, but the surefire aftermarket performance coil packs, in my opinion, are a waste of money. Yes, they're red, so they've got to increase the horsepower, right? But no, they don't. The ends just feel weird when you're trying to put them onto the spark plug. You can never tell whether it's over the spark plug. I've seen quite a few examples of where the end of the coil pack's bent over as you try and squeeze it onto the plug. They're more expensive, but they're no better. Avoid. Number 4, cheap Chinese turbos. I can understand the temptation. You know, good turbos are expensive. Most of the time they're expensive for a reason. They've got good quality components, they're made well, they're balanced within a fraction of a gram, and they can cope with the abuse that you want to give them. They're spinning at 60,000 RPM, so any small difference in balancing is just going to destroy the core of the turbo. What I found with the cheap Chinese turbos is the really poor quality of the components, and they are built appallingly. If, and that's a big if, they produce the power that you're after, I doubt whether they'll last a week or 2 months. Sometimes you might be lucky, but it's not worth the risk. Just don't do it, please. My heart cries a little when a car turns up for mapping and it's got one of these cheap Chinese turbos. Number 5, if you resist the temptation to buy a cheap Chinese turbo and you buy a VF turbo instead, or a good aftermarket turbo like an MD or a Garrett or something along those lines, you might find yourself with a set of these types of gaskets. They're horrific. If you're lucky, they'll get you to the mapping session, but most of the time they don't last the mapping session. As you can see, they are not very robust. With the blowtorch here, it's on fire in a couple of seconds, and as soon as that's on fire, the inside of those gaskets just turns to dust. If you're lucky, that blows outwards. If you're unlucky, that goes up through the turbo. Don't fit them, please. Number 6, turbo timers. I don't understand where the myth for the need of these came from. If you imagine a situation, you've got a fuel leak or an oil leak, you're trying to switch the car off in a hurry. Where's the button? Oh, handbrake up, foot on the brake, and by which time the car's gone up in flames. Really not a good idea, in my opinion. It's not hard to drive off piste for the last mile before you get to where you want to go, or just let it idle when you get there for a minute and then switch it off. Easy. Number 7, cheap coilovers will ruin your car. As soon as you put them on, you'll regret that decision. You'll regret the constant knocking. You'll regret the super stiff ride and your fillings falling out and your vertebrae welding together. You'll regret the fact that your other half is shouting at you all the time as to how much they don't like the car anymore.
It was much better before.
But most of all, you'll probably hate the car as well. Number 8, there's a theme with these. Cheap eBay silicone inlet hoses. Your Facebook friends convince you that you need a silicone inlet hose to make more power because the standard one is really restrictive. It isn't. So you scout through eBay and find a beautiful silicone inlet, £50 bargain, struggle for hours fitting it in, rip the old one out, you smother the new one in Vaseline and grease to try and get it under the manifold and eventually get it in. Then you go out for mapping, and on the first pull the inlet hose just sucks shut with a decent amount of boost. A really flimsy wizard sleeve of a silicone inlet is just going to suck shut, and your tuner, your mapper, will just advise you to put the standard one back on there. But because you've broken that, getting that out to put the silicone one in, you'll have to buy a good quality silicone inlet, which is going to probably set you back £250. So save yourself the aggro, don't do it. Number 9, this one might get you talking. It seems to be a thing that's popped up in recent years that all Subaru engines need the cylinder 4 cooling mod. I have no idea where that's come from. I'm sure there is some logic in it, but I have never needed to do that. Even at 850 horsepower on my Impreza, 450 on my Forester STI, I've never needed to do that. The Impreza at 850 was even running the standard radiator. No problems. I think it's snake oil, personally. Unless you can tell me in the comments below exactly what it does and why it's doing it and why a Subaru engine needs it, I'm not going to change my opinion on that. I think it's a waste of money. Number 10, you knew this was coming. These little beauties of headers. The Toyo Sport headers are appalling. Absolutely, utterly appalling. Yeah, I'm lost for words with these. I did a recent car where the power was restricted to, I think it was 175 horsepower with these headers on there. Changed the headers on that car and it made 345, I believe it was. I'll probably pop up on the screen the exact figures. So if I give you a little walk round as to why I think they're horrible, as you can see looking through the end of the collector, actually we can't really see that very well, So let's fix that. Let's get the angle grinder out and chop the end off so you can see the full beauty of the welding that is in there. Right, that's better. Now imagine a 4-lane motorway that all of a sudden goes down to 1 lane, no filters, no merging of lanes, just 4 lanes at one moment, 1 lane at the next. What's going to happen? Chaos. Then imagine that 1 lane goes into a narrow bridge. Again, traffic chaos. Then to put the cherry on the cake, you go around an immediate 90-degree bend. There is absolute traffic chaos, and that's what the air trying to get out of your engine is experiencing. There is so much back pressure with these that the old dead air can't get out of the engine, and if you can't get the old dead air out of the engine, you can't get nice, new, fresh, powerful air in there. They're horrific. Please don't do it. Please. I have to say big thanks to Zane for donating this set. I did tell him what I was going to do with them, and he was happy to help, so cheers Zane, thanks mate. This is what I like to do with the headers. So thank you for watching. I look forward to the comments below.